are your thoughts on the bill to ban TikTok?
You know, there's been rumors of that for a while and talk of that for a while, and it had stalled out at the legislative level. And yesterday it was signed into law by the president that they had 9 months to sell TikTok unless they were in the process of a sale, and then it would be extended 3 months. So the maximum to divest themselves, the Chinese company that owns it, is 1 year, at which point if they have not sold it, it will be banned in the United States. And it's interesting on how they finally went about doing that, because there's a lot of bills that get passed in this country because they get added on to some other bill.
Sure.
And what happened was they were passing a $95 billion aid package to Ukraine and Israel for the war efforts, and this was a last-minute add-on to that bill. Well,
somebody's like putting it in pencil on the last page.
That's exactly. And oh, by the way, and everybody knows the ban on TikTok has nothing to do with the war in Ukraine and the war in Israel. It has nothing to do with that. But it got added on, and the president signed it into law, and so now it is law. And so it's going to be interesting that the Chinese company that owns it has already said they're going to contest it under grounds of First Amendment speech rights, which is interesting because there's no such thing in China. They don't have any First Amendment speech. You say something over there against the government, they'll put you in jail.
You did.
But they're willing to use our laws to help them in their case.
Of course. Well, I mean,
everybody.
Right.
They're like, hey, you're the ones that have these laws. You're the one that are violating your own laws.
Right.
They want to use it to their advantage.
And I don't blame them. That's probably the tact that I would take too. And I promise you, you're talking about a multi-billion-dollar company. They're going to be able to get the best lawyers that you can possibly imagine. They will have better lawyers than the United States government will have, because there's always better lawyers on the non-public side for the most part.
Have they called you yet?
No. I'm sitting by the phone. I've got the phone right here.
You may know a guy.
But it'll be interesting because you have a lot of people in this country, content creators, that make a living on that, and they don't want to see it go away. There's people like me that didn't grow up with the internet, but I enjoy sitting there watching stories on TikTok.
Sure.
But the allegation is that the Chinese government and the company that owns it has used that device to influence elections, to change perception in this country, and to spy. And that it's not safe to allow a foreign government that's known to spy and to do espionage to have this type of device in this country, and that's why it's being banned.
Okay.
You want my conspiracy
I was going to
theory?
say,
Yes,
what do you
I'd like
got,
to hear
Jenny?
your
Yeah.
conspiracy theory.
I think my own personal theory is that it's driven by Meta because TikTok's making more money.
Yeah.
And I think Meta's like, no.
Facebook,
Let's get
Instagram
rid
has
of-
their lobbyists.
Yes, let's get rid of TikTok.
Remember during the last election when we buried some stories that could have helped get Trump elected? Time to return some favors.
Yes.
Meta took a hit yesterday in their stock. I think it was down 16% because Zuckerberg is going into some different areas other than what Facebook has been known to do. Obviously, my guess is he would be thrilled if TikTok was banned.
Absolutely. he would be.
Imagine that.
Okay, so now you're hearing this case.
Right.
Okay. China's like, listen, under free speech rights, you guys don't have a case here. We don't need to sell. What's happening in this case?
I think that the United States Constitution has been around for a long time, and I think that the ability to use, it doesn't matter that China's not from here, that they are right that it's a technical violation of free speech. The question is going to be is whether that violation of free speech, everything, if it truly is being used for espionage, if it truly is being, if the government can show that they really are spying and they're changing elections, it becomes a close call. If you look at it just from free speech rights, yeah, that's a violation of free speech. People have a right to say and think what they do in this country, regardless of what your thoughts and opinions are. That's why you have crazy extreme groups on both parties that are able to exist and don't just get shut down by the government. Would the government love to shut down a neo-Nazi group? Of course they would. But they have a free speech right to say some of the things that they're doing. It's going to be interesting to see how this case plays through. Ultimately, it will wind up in the United States Supreme Court, which is currently leaning conservative. And so my guess is it would be a 5-4 decision to ban TikTok.
Wow.
But we'll see, or a 6-3 decision, but we'll see.
Well, after 7 years, when it finally gets to the
I know,
Supreme
right?
Court, we better find another app.
In a decade, we can talk about this again.
Yeah.